Each revelation was a bomb exploding in the tense silence of her parlor. Adana knew nothing about these illnesses, these financial crises. The nights Mama Adana had considered that it would be easier to simply not wake up the next morning. To her daughter, she had existed in a frozen moment, waiting patiently for their eventual return. "We did not know," Adana murmured, but the excuse sounded hollow even to herself. "You did not know because you never asked," Mama Adana corrected her. "For 14 years, you could have picked up the phone just once to find out if your mother was still alive. You could have sent a single message asking if I needed anything. You could have stopped by my compound to check if I was well." Emeka stood up abruptly, clearly frustrated that his plan was yielding no results. "All right, Mama Adana, we understand. You are angry. But we are here now. We are asking for forgiveness, wanting to fix things. Does that not count for something?" His question revealed how little he understood about the damage they had caused. For him, forgiveness was something that could be obtained by simply showing up and apologizing, as if 14 years of emotional abandonment could be erased with one uncomfortable conversation. "What counts, Emeka, is when you decided to come. You did not come when I needed you. You came when you need me." Mama Adana walked to the window overlooking her backyard, where she had planted hibiscus flowers that were blooming beautifully under the sun. Those flowers represented her rebirth, her ability to create beauty even after being cruelly cut off by those who were supposed to nurture her. "For all these years," she continued without turning to look at them, "I developed a very simple philosophy about human relationships. People show you who they really are through their actions, not their words. You showed me that I had no value in your lives when things were going well." Adana came up behind her, her trembling presence near her mother's shoulder. "Mama, we were young, foolish, influenced by wrong ideas about marriage and family. But we have grown. We have matured." "You have gone broke," Mama Adana corrected without turning around. "You have not matured. You have gone broke, and now that you need financial help, you suddenly remember you have a mother." The silence was broken by the sound of her phone. It was Mama Chidi, probably calling for their weekly visit. Mama Adana let it ring, but the call reminded her of something important. She had a full and satisfying life without them. She had genuine friendships, purpose, peace of mind. She did not need validation from people who had treated her like a disposable object. "Do you know what the most painful moment of all these years was?" she asked, finally turning to face them. "It was not when you stopped inviting me to ceremonies. It was not when you stopped calling. It was when I realized that I loved you unconditionally, but your love for me had conditions you never clearly explained." Adana began to sob again, but this time her tears seemed to come from a deeper, more genuine place. "Mama, I love you. I have always loved you. It is just that I let someone convince me that love was a problem for my marriage. And now that your marriage is in financial crisis," Mama Adana observed, "suddenly that love is no longer a problem. How convenient." Emeka had remained silent for several minutes, but she could see his mind working, calculating, looking for a new angle of attack. He finally spoke, adopting a more direct tone. "Look, Mama Adana, let us be honest here. We need financial help. You have money. We are family, even if we have had problems. Is it not natural for family to help each other in difficult times?" His brutal honesty was almost refreshing after so much poorly acted manipulation. At least now they were speaking clearly about what they really wanted. "It is interesting that you mentioned family helping each other," Mama Adana replied with a smile that was anything but warm. "Where was that family philosophy when I was working from dawn to dusk selling Accra to survive? Where was that family solidarity when I had to choose between buying medicine or food?" She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "Do you know what is the most pathetic thing about all this? If you had come a year ago, when I was still living in that small room, when I was still counting kobo to buy ingredients, I probably would have welcomed you with open arms. I would have cried with joy. I would have forgiven everything without conditions. I would have cooked for you until I collapsed from exhaustion." Adana covered her face with her hands, her body shaking with the magnitude of her desperation. Emeka had adopted a more tense posture, like a cornered animal evaluating its escape options. "But the money gave me something I never had during those 14 years of abandonment," Mama Adana went on, walking slowly through her parlor like a judge delivering a final sentence. "It gave me perspective. It gave me the freedom to choose who deserves to be in my life, and who does not. It gave me the power to say no without fear of the consequences." During her first weeks living in this house, she had spent many hours reflecting on this exact possibility. What would she do if Adana and Emeka appeared at her door? How would she react? Would she be able to maintain her dignity? Or would she crumble at the first opportunity to get her daughter back? Mama Chidi had been her counselor during those reflections. "Money does not change who you are inside," she had said as they drank tea on the new terrace. "But it does change how others see you and how you see yourself. The question is, will you use that new perspective to be wiser or to make the same emotional mistakes of the past?" Her words had been prophetic. Now facing the exact scenario they had discussed, Mama Adana realized that the money had indeed changed her, but not in the way Adana and Emeka expected. It had not made her more generous with those who had hurt her. It had made her more selective about who deserved her time and emotional energy. "Mama," Adana tried to approach again. "I understand your anger. I understand your pain. But do you not think everyone deserves a second chance? Do you not think family love can overcome any past mistake? A second chance?" Mama Adana repeated, savoring the irony. Adana, you had thousands of opportunities over 14 years to correct your mistake. Every day you woke up was an opportunity to call your mother. Every birthday, every Christmas, every Mother's Day was an opportunity to remember you had family who loved you unconditionally. Emeka shifted restlessly, clearly calculating whether he should intervene or let Adana continue with her emotional appeal. His eyes continued to scan the house, evaluating, calculating, probably estimating how much money he needed and how much they could reasonably ask for without seeming too greedy. The difference between a second chance and a 100th chance, Mama Adana continued, is that second chances are given out of love. 100th chances are given out of desperation. You are not here for love. You are here out of financial desperation. Adana slumped onto the cushion, as if the words were physical blows. You are right, she murmured in a broken voice. You are absolutely right. We are terrible hypocrites. We are selfish. We are everything you say we are. Her admission might have been moving if it had not been accompanied by the obvious expectation that acknowledging her mistakes would automatically result in forgiveness and, more importantly, financial help. Acknowledging your mistakes is only the first step, Adana, Mama Adana explained with the patience of a teacher. The second step is accepting the consequences of those mistakes. And the consequences of abandoning your mother for 14 years do not disappear just because you need money now. She went to the kitchen and started making tea. Not because she wanted to prolong the visit, but because she needed a moment to process the surrealism of the situation. After so many years dreaming of this reunion, the reality was much colder and more calculated than she had imagined. While the water boiled, she could hear urgent whispers between Adana and Emeka in the parlor. She could not make out the exact words, but the tone was clearly one of strategy and negotiation. They were recalibrating their approach, looking for new ways to manipulate her. She returned with a tray containing a single cup of tea. She sat in her favorite chair and sipped slowly, observing them like a scientist studying specimens. Are you not going to offer us tea? Emeka asked, clearly irritated by her lack of traditional hospitality. No, she replied simply. This is not a social visit. This is a negotiation, and in negotiations, hospitality implies equal positions. We are not in equal positions. Adana seemed genuinely hurt by the coldness, but Emeka showed an expression of reluctant respect, as if he were finally understanding that the woman before him was not the same one they had abandoned. All right, Emeka said, adopting a more direct tone. Let us talk clearly. We need 2 million naira to save our situation and start over. We know you have money. We know we are family. What do you need to hear to help us? His question was so transactional, so devoid of genuine emotion, that it almost made Mama Adana laugh. He had reduced 14 years of family abandonment to a simple business negotiation. What magic words did he need to say to access her money? What I need to hear, she replied after a long sip of tea, is the truth about why you really excluded me from your lives, not sugar-coated versions about youthful mistakes or external influences. The real truth. Adana and Emeka exchanged significant glances. It was clear they had prepared several versions of their story, but none had included the brutal honesty she was demanding. The truth, Adana murmured, is that Emeka convinced me you were a problem for our marriage. A problem how? Mama Adana pressed, not allowing her to hide behind soft words. Emeka took over, probably realizing that Adana's victim strategy was not working. I thought you were too present, too opinionated. I thought you interfered in our decisions as a couple. Interfered how? Mama Adana continued to press, determined to extract the whole truth. You always had suggestions on how to raise the children, how to handle money, where to live, Emeka admitted with an honesty that probably pained him. And Adana always listened to you. She always considered your opinion before mine. There it was, the naked truth. Emeka had seen her maternal influence as a threat to his total control over Adana. He could not tolerate the idea of his wife having a source of wisdom and support independent of him. So you eliminated me because I represented an alternative voice in Adana's life. Mama Adana summarized. You eliminated me because my unconditional love for my daughter threatened your need to be her only source of validation and direction. The silence confirmed her analysis. Adana finally lifted her head, eyes red, but with an expression of belated understanding. Mama, now I understand that Emeka is wrong. I understand that I need your voice in my life. I understand I made the biggest mistake of my existence by choosing to please him over honoring our relationship. Her words sounded genuine, but they came 14 years too late and in the wrong context. It was easy to recognize mistakes when the consequences were destroying you financially. You understand now that you need my voice, Mama Adana repeated slowly. But you specifically need my voice to say yes to 2 million naira. Adana flinched at the surgical precision of the observation. Emeka seemed irritated by her refusal to accept the narrative of repentance they had so carefully constructed. Mama Adana, enough with the psychological games, he finally exploded, showing his true personality. We understand you are angry. We understand we made mistakes. But we are here now, asking for help, willing to make amends. What more do you want? His outburst was exactly what she had been waiting for. The moment the mask would fall completely and reveal the controlling, manipulative man he had always been. What I want, Emeka, is something you will never be able to give me, she replied with a calm that contrasted with his agitation. I want 14 years of my life back. I want to have known my grandchildren since they were babies. I want to have been present for their first steps, their first words, their first days of school. She stood and walked to a shelf where she kept a few family photographs. She took one in particular, Adana at 5 years old, gap-toothed and smiling, hugging her mother's leg with pure adoration in her eyes. "This little girl loved me unconditionally," she said, showing them the photograph. "This little girl called me her best friend, her hero, her favorite person in the whole world." "What happened to this little girl, Adana?" Adana looked at the photograph with such intense pain that for a moment Mama Adana thought she would collapse. That little girl grew up and became a weak woman who allowed an insecure man to destroy the most valuable thing she had in her life. Her answer surprised Mama Adana with its brutal honesty. It was the first time all afternoon she had shown real understanding of the magnitude of what she had lost, not just what she needed to recover to solve her current problems. "Exactly," Mama Adana confirmed, returning the photograph to its place. "And now that weak woman comes looking for the mother she abandoned, not because she has found her strength and independent voice, but because she needs money." Emeka stood up abruptly, clearly frustrated. "You know what, Mama Adana? Maybe you were right from the beginning. Maybe you are too dramatic, too complicated. Maybe it was for the best that we distanced ourselves from all this emotional drama." His words were like an unexpected gift. After hours of careful manipulation, he had finally shown his true nature, confirming everything she had suspected about him for years. "There he is," she said, smiling genuinely for the first time all afternoon. "There is the real man. The man who convinced Adana that a mother's love was emotional drama. The man who could not tolerate his wife having an independent source of support." Adana looked at Emeka with growing horror, as if she were finally seeing something that had been in front of her for years, but which she had refused to acknowledge. "Emeka," she murmured in a trembling voice, "do you really think my mama is being dramatic for being hurt after we abandoned her for 14 years? "Adana, do not let her manipulate you again," Emeka replied, adopting that paternalistic tone he had probably used to control her throughout their relationship. "She is playing with your emotions to make you feel guilty." "No," Adana said with a firmness she had not shown all afternoon. "She is not playing with my emotions. She is expressing legitimate pain that we caused. She is being honest about the consequences of our terrible actions." Mama Adana watched this exchange with the interest of a spectator at a play she knew by heart. It was fascinating to see how financial desperation had begun to crack the power dynamic Emeka had so carefully built over the years. "Adana," she said softly, "do you realize that even now, in this moment of crisis, your husband is more concerned with controlling your reaction than with repairing the damage you did to me?" Adana turned to look at Emeka with new eyes, as if seeing a stranger. "You are right," she murmured. "Even now, he is more concerned with being right than with doing the right thing." "Adana, do not get confused," Emeka insisted, but his voice had lost the confident authority it had maintained for years. "We need to focus on solving our problems, not on dwelling on the past." "Your problems," Mama Adana repeated, noting the specific choice of words. "Emeka, your financial problems are not my problems. Your business failure is not my responsibility. Your inability to manage your life is not something I should solve." The room filled with tense silence as her words settled into reality. Adana seemed to be experiencing a sort of belated awakening, while Emeka clearly struggled between different manipulation strategies. "Besides," Mama Adana continued, "even if I decided to help you financially, what guarantee would I have that you would not disappear from my life again once your problems are solved?" Adana opened her mouth to protest, but closed it when she realized she had no convincing answer. The truth was there was no guarantee, and everyone in that room knew it. "During these 3 months living here," Mama Adana continued, "I have developed a beautiful and peaceful routine. I wake when I want. I eat what I please. I watch the sunset from my terrace. I read books I always wanted to read. I help other women who have gone through experiences similar to mine." She approached the window again, watching the river flow steadily past. "I have discovered that peace of mind is priceless. I have learned that chosen solitude is infinitely superior to toxic company." "Mama," Adana came up from behind, her voice barely a whisper. "What do I have to do to earn your forgiveness? What do I have to do to win back your love?" Mama Adana turned to face her, seeing in her eyes a desperation that went beyond the financial crisis. For the first time, she seemed to be understanding that she had lost something much more valuable than money or property.